Hey, hello friends. This is Promise with IELTS with Habram C. You're welcome again to this channel, and I am going to be sharing with you how to tackle matching categories in IELTS listening. Yes, you heard me right. Matching categories in IELTS listening. I'm sure you've heard of that question type before. Perhaps you do not know. It's one of the 7 question types that we have in the IELTS listening test. And matching categories is actually a question type that can be challenging for many candidates if you do not know how to go about it. But in this particular lesson, I'm going to be exposing you to the steps you need to take in order to make sure that even if you have 5 questions or 6 questions or 7 questions in matching categories, you will definitely be able to get all of them correctly, and that will help to enhance your chances of getting that desired band score you need, probably an 8 or a 9 on the IELTS listening test. Now, one thing you need to know is that you need to be able to identify such question type when you see one of them. Like you can see on your screen, this is one example of matching categories. It just looks like this basically. You're going to have one question, just a single question, underneath the number of questions given. Like here you can see questions 25 to 30. That suggests it's part 3, because part 3 has 10 questions running from 21 to 30. Now, so you're going to have one question, and then you're going to have a list of options, which will be in a box basically, from which you have to select individual options that will fit into the categories that are listed down below. So you see here, we have a question that says, which personal meaning do the students decide to give to each of the following pictures? Choose 6 answers from the box and write the correct letter A to H next to questions 25 to 30. And then you have the box there, it says, that has a list of items, personal meanings, you have them, A to H, and then you have pictures just beneath where you have the list of categories. So basically the categories that we want to match are actually the pictures, matching them with the accurate personal meanings based on the question that's been given to you. So now, when you have this kind of question and you are about to attempt the question, remember that you're going to hear the voice of a facilitator or the moderator who will probably just cue you in and tell you that, okay, you're about to listen to a part of the recording that talks about students discussing about pictures, basically. And then we'll tell you to have some time to go through the questions, questions 25 to 30. Now, this is what you are expected to do. First of all, you are expected to read the question. Read that question that is there, that single question, and understand the meaning of the question, because that will be the basis for which you'll be able to select any appropriate option. Now, the question says, which personal meaning do the students decide to give to each of the following pictures? That means personal meaning means a meaning that is personal, meaning that is peculiar to them. It's based on their own personal opinions, not what other persons would have said, not what they've read from somewhere, but basically what they themselves have been able to conjure and be able to decide or deduce concerning each of the pictures. So that is one thing that you need to bear in mind. So with that in mind, the next thing you should do is that you should go over to the options that have been given. And then for each of the options, read them and try to paraphrase them. Now, this is extremely important. Very important, because when the speakers have begin their conversation or their discussion, like the case may be, you can see now you've got these questions come from part 3, and that is definitely where you have the academic discussion between 2 or 3 students. And so you're going to hear the 2 of them talking, or 3 persons talking and sharing their views. Now, when they begin to talk, or when they begin to share their views, they will not mention any of these personal meanings the way they've been written here. You're not going to hear hope for the future, for instance, or the power of color, or the continuity of life. You will not hear any of that. So what are you going to hear instead? What you're going to hear instead would be paraphrased versions of those words that are here. And so you have to, during the 30 seconds given to you, after you've read the question, you need to read these personal meanings and try to understand what they mean. Try to picture them. Well, the first one says a childhood memory. Okay, so you just think of, memory of a child, maybe a story relating to a child when a child grew up over time and how he was able to develop and all of that, or something to just remind you about childhood. And then the B says hope for the future. That means something has to do with the future. Okay, we believe that something is going to happen and all of that. Something may happen in the future. Then C says fast movement. So maybe an animal is moving very fast, or a person is moving very fast, or an item is moving very fast, or a car is moving very fast, and things like that. A potential threat, something that may be challenging, something that may happen, which is like a negative, in the negative, something that may happen in the negative, something that may cause a problem, and all of that, but has not happened at the moment. The power of color, maybe we're going to have different colors mentioned, like red, blue, yellow, or whatever. The continuity of life, that means not just about now, but even about the future, or perhaps maybe something that was meant to die is now being resurrected, is now being resuscitated, and then continues to live and live and live and live. Protection of nature, okay, we're talking about protection of grasslands, protection of wildlife, protection of animals, and so on and so forth, or anything that's natural, or like fields and forests and all that. A confused attitude to nature, that means you're neither here nor there. Maybe there's an attitude that looks as though it's good, and then another attitude that looks as though it's bad. So it's kind of confused concerning nature and so on and so forth. So this is a kind of paraphrasing that you need to do in your head, so that when the speaker starts to talk and then he starts to mention the pictures that you have here, falcon, fish, or kingfisher and all that, you will now pay attention to the meaning that they are attaching to each of these pictures, bearing in mind what you've just paraphrased in your head concerning the different options. And so this is one major thing you should take note of. One caveat: it is very possible that while you are listening to the speakers, they might mention one or two words that are among the box, inside the box. You could just hear memory in a flash, or threats mentioned, or color mentioned, or movement mentioned. That does not mean that that particular option that was referred to is actually the correct one. Many a times without number, when such things occur, the option that has been referred to may actually be incorrect. It may just be that that word was just used in passing, just to refer to something else. But by the time you check the meaning of the statement in which the word has been used, you discover that it doesn't actually connect with with the option you're referring to. So for instance, when we're talking about the fish hawk, and then you'll be like, okay, maybe it just mentions the color of the fish hawk, but then it doesn't have to do with the power of color. And so if for instance the power of color was meant to be the right answer, you will not, instead of hearing color or power, you might hear things like, okay, red, it has red, blue, the yellow, and all of these have some impact and all of that. They have some impact or some influence on one thing or the other, and that suggests power of color. So that's what you likely hear. So that is one thing you should bear in mind, and you should also be able to predict the kind of answers that will fit in, that will fit in into each of these pictures, because there are some answers that may not fit in, and in some cases they may fit in. And so that's just it about matching categories, and that's how to deal with matching categories questions. So right about now, you're going to listen to a recording relating to these particular question type, these particular questions, and then you try to find the answers to the questions. Please make sure you listen once, and then at the same time, afterwards, you're going to see the answers being provided on your screen, so that you can evaluate yourself and know how well you fared.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
One part of the project I'm unsure about is where we choose some paintings of birds and say what they mean to us. Like, I chose a painting of a falcon by Landseer. I like it because the bird's standing there with his head turned to one side, but he seems to be staring straight at you. But I can't just say it's a bit scary, can I?
You could talk about the possible danger suggested by the bird's look.
Oh, okay.
There's a picture of a fish hawk by Audubon I like. It's swooping over the water with a fish in its talons, and with great black wings which take up most of the picture.
So you could discuss it in relation to predators and food chains?
Well, actually, I think I'll concentrate on the impression of rapid motion it gives.
Right.
Do you know that picture of a kingfisher by Van Gogh? It's perching on a reed growing near a stream.
Yes, it's got these beautiful blue and red and black shades.
I've actually chosen it because I saw a real kingfisher once when I was little. I was out walking with my grandfather and I've never forgotten it.
Oh, so we can use a personal link?
Sure.
OK. There's a portrait called William Wells. I can't remember the artist, but it's a middle-aged man who's just shot a bird. And his expression and the way he's holding the bird in his hand suggests he's not sure about what he's done. To me, it's about how ambiguous people are in the way they exploit the natural world.
Interesting. There's Gauguin's picture, Vira Matti. He did it in Tahiti. It's a woman with a white bird behind her that is eating a lizard. And what I'm interested in is what idea this bird refers to. Apparently, it's a reference to the never-ending cycle of existence.
Wow. I chose a portrait of a little boy, Giovanni de' Medici. He's holding a tiny bird in one fist. I like the way he's holding it carefully so he doesn't hurt it.
Oh, right.
That is the end of part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 3.
This brings us to the end of our discussion concerning matching categories in IELTS listening. Please make sure you subscribe to this particular channel if you have not done so, and like and share this video to as many friends as possible. So see you again